High in the Bolivian Andes, at over 13,000 feet, lies a city that changed the world. This is Potosí, and that mountain looming over it is the Cerro Rico, the rich hill. For centuries, this single mountain was the epicenter of a global economic earthquake. A fountain of silver that fueled empires, connected continents, and gave birth to the world's first global currency. But this river of silver flowed on a torrent of human suffering and environmental devastation, a legacy that haunts this place even today. This is the story of how a single mountain in the Andes kick-started global capitalism. Our story begins around 1545 with a local Andean man named Diego Gualpa. As the legend goes, while searching for a lost llama on the mountain, he slipped. To stop his fall, he grabbed a bush, pulling it from the ground. Clinging to its roots was a clump of pure, glistening silver. Gualpa had stumbled upon the richest silver deposit ever discovered. News spread like wildfire. Soon, the barren, windswept mountain became a bustling boomtown. People from across the Spanish Empire and beyond flocked to Potosí, dreaming of instant wealth. The city swelled, becoming one of the largest and wealthiest in the world, larger than London or Paris at the time. The Spanish crown, which had conquered the region just a decade earlier, declared the mountain its property and began extracting its treasure on an industrial scale. In the early years, mining was relatively simple. The veins of pure silver were so rich they could be dug out using simple tools. But this high-grade ore, known as plata blanca or white silver, soon ran out. The remaining silver was mixed with other minerals, making it much harder to extract. The old smelting methods used by the Inca were inefficient for this lower grade, or production plummeted, and the Spanish crown grew desperate. The solution came in 1572 with the arrival of a new viceroy, Francisco de Toledo. Toledo was a ruthless but brilliant administrator. He was tasked with one thing: make Potosí profitable again. He introduced a revolutionary and deadly new technology, the Mercury amalgamation process. This process, also known as the patio process, involved crushing the silver ore into a fine powder. This powder was then mixed with water, salt, and most importantly, mercury. Teams of barefoot indigenous workers would spend weeks treading through this toxic sludge to ensure the ingredients were thoroughly mixed. The mercury would bind with the silver particles, forming an amalgam. This amalgam was then heated in large ovens. The mercury would vaporize, leaving behind nearly pure silver. The problem was, the mercury vapor was incredibly toxic. It filled the air, poisoning the workers and contaminating the surrounding landscape. To supply the vast quantities of mercury needed, the Spanish opened another mine, Huancavelica, in Peru, which became known as the Mine of Death. The mercury amalgamation process was a horrific success. Silver production at Potosí exploded. To feed this monstrous industrial machine, Viceroy Toledo revived and massively expanded an old Inca system of forced labor known as the meta, under the Spanish meta. Communities across the Andes were forced to send 1/7 of their adult male population to work in the mines and refineries of Potosí and Huancavelica. These men, called metios, were forced to walk hundreds of miles with their families, often to never return. The conditions were hellish. Deep inside the Cerro Rico, it was dark, hot, and the air was thick with dust. Cave-ins were constant. Workers chipped away at the rock for 12-hour shifts, often chewing coca leaves to numb the hunger, exhaustion, and pain. Many died from accidents, exhaustion, or silicosis, a lung disease caused by inhaling mineral dust. Those who survived the mines often succumbed to mercury poisoning in the refineries. Potosí became a graveyard. It's said the mountain devoured 8 million lives, mostly indigenous Andeans and enslaved Africans. The silver that flowed from Potosí transformed the global economy. It was minted into coins, the famous pieces of 8 or Spanish dollars. These coins, stamped with the Pillars of Hercules, became the world's first truly global currency. They were uniform, reliable, and accepted everywhere, from the bazaars of Istanbul to the ports of Southeast Asia. You can see their legacy today. The modern dollar sign is believed to be derived from the scroll-wrapped pillars on the Spanish dollar. This massive influx of silver into Europe financed Spain's wars, funded its empire, and fueled a period of massive inflation known as the Price Revolution. But Spain didn't hold onto its wealth for long. The silver quickly flowed out to pay for foreign goods and to service the Crown's massive debts to Genoese and German bankers. Interestingly, a huge portion of Potosí's silver ended up on the other side of the world, in China. During the Ming Dynasty, the Chinese government had reformed its tax system, demanding that all taxes be paid in silver. This created an insatiable demand for the metal. China essentially became a silver sink. Europeans, who had very few goods that China wanted, finally had something they desperately desired. Silver, a massive global trade network, emerged. Potosí silver was shipped from the Americas to Europe, and then onward to Asia, or directly across the Pacific via the Manila galleons. In exchange, Chinese silks, porcelain, and tea flowed back to Europe and the Americas. For the first time, all major continents were connected in a permanent network of trade, all lubricated by the silver from a single mountain in the Andes. This was the birth of global capitalism. But the boom couldn't last forever. By the 18th century, the richest veins were depleted, the cost of mining increased, and production began a long, slow decline. When Bolivia gained its independence in the early 19th century, Potosí was a shadow of its former self. The great wealth was gone, but the legacy of exploitation and environmental damage remained. Today, Potosí is one of the poorest cities in Bolivia. The Cerro Rico is still being mined, but now for tin and zinc. The mountain is a hollowed-out honeycomb, dangerously unstable and scarred by centuries of relentless extraction. Thousands of miners, including children, still risk their lives daily in its dark tunnels, earning a meager living in conditions that have changed little since colonial times. The environmental legacy is just as stark. The rivers around Potosí are heavily contaminated with mercury, lead, and other heavy metals from centuries of mining, poisoning the water and the land. The toxic dust from the mountain blows over the city, causing widespread health problems. The story of Potosí is a powerful and tragic reminder of the true cost of our globalized economy. It shows how the pursuit of wealth can create vast fortunes for some while inflicting unimaginable suffering on others. The silver from this mountain connected the world, but it did so through a system of brutal exploitation and environmental destruction. As we look at the gleaming skyscrapers and intricate supply chains of our modern world, it's worth remembering that the foundations of this global system were forged here in the cold, thin air of the Andes, with a metal that was as much a curse as it was a blessing. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the events that shaped our world.